I'm not sure why I felt led to record a video that says God isn't mad at you. And I say this with the utmost love and respect because I completely understand that we are all walking our own path and we are all experiencing things in life that are here to teach us more about ourselves and here to teach us and align us with our purpose. But I get the feeling at times that there's so much misinformation about God's nature in the world. And then there's so many teachings that really have taught us to fear God or see God as like this big, bad, finger pointing God in the sky that's simply condemning us every time we look left and every time we look right. But if we pay attention to the nature of God, the nature of God is one that is like omnipresent, omnipotent, holy, a level of morality that we can't even combat with. And yet we're here in physical form as human beings experiencing life in real life, tangible life, interacting with those that are walking through their own lives. And so, of course, there's going to be some resistance that we buck up against. There are going to be some things that we have to demystify and things that we just have to figure out through our life's journey. But I say that God isn't mad at you because I want to take it back to you. I want to take it back to you, the person that's listening to this video and watching this at the moment. There have been some things that you've asked for in your life. I know that you've been in your secret place of asking or petitioning for things that you desire, things that you want to see change, things that you probably even want healing from, things that you've experienced that you just question, like, why did I have to go through that? What was that about? And I just want to remind you that nothing that you've gone through has been a waste. God doesn't waste anything. Not one experience is wasted. However, I go back to the point of when you ask for something, you have to be prepared to receive that which you asked for. And sometimes the preparation period is usually the period that is uncomfortable or feels like it's stagnant or feel like you're not being seen or feel like you've been forgotten or feel like God has turned his back on you. And that's not the case. Like, God isn't mad at you just because things seem to be going a little all over the place in your life. God isn't mad at you because there seems to be an disarray within your life, or that there seems to be some sort of resistance that you're experiencing, or things are not lining up the way you want them to line up, or it feels like your back is up against a wall, or it feels like things are not working in your favor. That is, in my opinion, when God is with you actually the most, like closer than close. And so I just want to shift your perspective for a second, if you allow me that moment. I've been studying the Bible. I've just been on a journey to read the Bible and sort of understand more and go into depth about what's being said, the history behind it, the context, Old Testament versus New Testament, the resurrection of Christ, the gospel, the disciples, the whole 9 yards, right? And this is, again, my personal choice. I'm not recruiting anybody, nor am I asking you to do the same. I'm just simply expressing what foundationally has resonated with me and what I've used to kind of ground myself. But I say all that to say, in studying that, I come across the book of Ezekiel. And in the book of Ezekiel, I know that there is a moment where Ezekiel, who again is a prophet and is speaking and sort of declaring what God wants him to speak, especially when the children of Israel were in a space of rebellion and there was an exile that has taken place. And so he meets with Ezekiel in the valley of the dry bones. And I just, thinking to myself as I reconcile, like, here is your prophet speaking your word, going out into the world, reaffirming to people your goodness, your nature, your, how holy and wonderful that you are. And yet you have a meeting in the dry valley of the bones, right? A valley of the dry bones. And that is to say, even if you have a specific calling on your life, which you do, and you have a purpose on your life, and you have a direction in which you're being led, it doesn't mean that you're going to be absent from the experiences that draw you closer to that purpose or draw you closer to the impact that you're meant to create here in physical form. And so while Ezekiel had a calling on his life and a task and an appointment, there was still a need for God to sort of show him, like, this is what's happening, right? And using it, in my opinion, as like a visual metaphor of what was taking place around him. But also during that time, he instructed Ezekiel to speak to the dry bones. And so perhaps this is the moment that you're being instructed to speak to the dry bones within your life, to speak to the areas within your life that you know are not where you want them to be, but ultimately you're trying to be led closer to where you are supposed to be and where you're being divinely guided and led to be. I want you to know that when things are not working out the way you want them to work out, it is not about God sort of looking down with a checklist saying that you had a good day, you didn't have a good day. Oh, Wednesday was horrible for you, so because of that, you're going to pay the price for that. No, God's presence is always loving, correcting, merciful, just always willing and able to be present with you, like in that moment of frustration, in that moment of like feeling downtrodden and feeling like nothing is working out. And also through the celebrations too, and also through the goodness. But I say this, that presence is always there. And I think we confuse the teachings and we confuse some of the experiences that we go through that are meant to create better muscle within us about how we approach life and how we learn about ourselves and who we're being called to be. And then we see it as like, I'm in the valley right now, so therefore God has turned get his back on me. And so I don't want you to think that way and think that God is mad at you. I think that this is an optimal time for you to rediscover who you are in God, and to know that that relationship is something that God holds sacred and wants continuously. And so when you feel like picking up the phone to call someone, I would advise and encourage, right? I would just encourage you to spend some time having a conversation with God. And said, if you feel like, things are in such disarray that you don't even know where to begin, I would encourage that you, again, have a conversation with God where your mind gets cleared, and that you can get still and slow down your heartbeat, so that you can just sort of process what is being said to me, what is being taught to me, where am I being divinely guided, where am I being led, what is the point of this? God is not mad at you just because things in your life are not going the way you want them to go. And I think that people have this belief that somehow God's nature is like our nature. Remember, we're human beings, we're in the flesh, and we experience so much that's happening here in this external world. And yet God's nature, he's already says it, my thoughts are not your thoughts, neither my ways your ways. So if my thoughts are not your thoughts and my ways are not your ways, that's to say that I don't reward you for being good as more than I shun you for doing something that wasn't in your best interest. My character doesn't change at all. I'm going to be who I am as the powerful presence. And I simply want you to be in communion with that. And when you separate from that powerful presence, or when you think that you have it all figured out, or when you feel like you can sort of do what you desire without divine counsel or guidance or support, right? Support, then it separates you. And in that separation, sometimes we cause ourselves harm. Sometimes we cause ourselves to be delayed and stagnant and frustrated. I hope this is resonating with you as I speak to you, because again, I speak to myself, but God isn't mad at you just because things are not lining up the way you want them to line up, or because life is quote unquote not fair, or because it's been rough lately. There is a valley season, and in that valley, you're being taught, you're being refined, you're being prepared, you're being led, you're being, there's a lamp that's on your feet that is ushering you to where you need to be. And I mean, speak to anyone. Everyone has experienced tribulation within their lives. Like, you're no exception, especially because we are experiencing things in this physical world. And so you're going to come up with that. It's like that yin yang balance, right? The balance, the dance that is presented to every human being here on this earth. And so I'm just encouraging you that you don't faint, that you don't get frustrated, that you don't get deterred or get fooled by believing that somehow you've done something wrong, or somehow you're not good enough, or somehow God has turned his back on you. And that's not the case at all. And so I just want to encourage you to just keep going. I want to encourage you to take a deep breath and slow down. I want you to be reminded of God's presence, which is love, like the highest form of love, the highest form of light, the highest form of peace, the highest form of clarity, the highest form of just compassion, and God knowing exactly what you need when you need it. And that knowing exactly what you need might sometimes be a tough lesson that you don't want to digest, but it's a necessary lesson in order to propel you to the next level within your life. And so don't be confused by what people are saying and doing, or anyone else's depiction of God. It is in your best interest to get to know God for yourself. It's in your best interest to be still enough that you can gain some clarity and some insight about your next steps and what is desired for you, and what is being imparted in you. So be easy for a second and disassociate with the humanity, that human association, because God doesn't operate the way human beings operate, right? There's a lot of backbiting, get back, I'm mad at you because of this. And that's not even the nature, right? That's not even the nature of the supreme being. So if that is the case, then we don't want to associate our carnal ways with a way of the supreme sovereign being. So again, I just want to encourage you that if things are not as you want them to be, that's okay. How do you know that that's not also part of your journey? That's part of your testimony. That's part of your process. That's part of your birthing season. And we're all, again, going to experience things in life because we are interacting and interfacing on a regular basis with the physical aspect of this universe. And so God is not mad at you. You didn't do anything wrong. You were being a human being. And the separation is what sometimes causes the sadness, the anger and the frustrations and the need to sort of figure it out on our own and separate from God. That's what usually causes the anxiety and the frustration and the things that would make us feel as though we've lost our way, but you haven't lost your way. So I just want to encourage you to keep going. I don't know who this message is for, but whoever it's for, may you take it, may you sit with it, may you ponder it, may you even ask for clarity and confirm, like, was this something that I needed to hear in this moment? I just don't believe that there's a checklist of good, bad, good, bad. It's just simply actions and reactions. It's simply consequences based on the decisions that we make. and consequences can be good or bad, right? They can be good and not so great. But let's sort of disassociate from these labels, these heavy labels that box us in to the nature of God. Because if God is love and holy and omnipresent and always coming from a space of good and wanting the best for you, then know that whatever it is that you're going through is simply in conjunction to what you need to learn to get to where you need to go. Like, I've never met someone striving for something that didn't go through a rites of passage, right? Whether you are studying to be a lawyer or a doctor or an engineer, or you're becoming a mom for the first time or a dad for the first time, you're purchasing your first home, your first car, everyone's going to go through a school of life that's going to teach them about something. And sometimes those lessons hit harder than others, but ultimately they're in your best interest. So I would advise you to just stay encouraged, keep going, keep trusting God. And if you don't have a relationship with God, call that in and ask, like, how can you cultivate that? Meditation, prayer, journaling, like, seek that peace, seek that oneness with the creation, right? With creation. And we are creations, the creator, excuse me. And so that's my encouragement to you. And I hope this was helpful. And I hope it lightened up your spirit to just, be easy, relax. You are okay, and God is with you. And so stay focused, stay encouraged, and I'll see you next time. If you want any resources, check the description below. We'll talk soon.